Welcome to the Tea of Life podcast, where our mission is to transform every attitude of life by encouraging and equipping you to live the life you love and love the life you live. I am your host, Tiffany Thompson. Okay, so there's this article that I posted a while back on Facebook, and it was a link to this article called What If All I Want Is a Mediocre Life? And is written by a girl named Krista O'Reilly, and she wrote it last year. But the thing that really struck me was this is something that I've been struggling with a lot lately, because I hear the bigger, better, faster, grow, everybody has to be a leader, everybody has to be busy, everybody has to, achieve. And you see all these things on social media where how you can make your life better and how you can be better. And I'm all about that. Obviously, that's the premise of the podcast. Mm-hmm. But it's making it better by earning more money or being more successful, having more stuff, And so, I am honestly very tired of people constantly pounding me with, okay, read this book to make your life better, or do this to make your life better, or do this to get more followers on Instagram, or do this to, make more money or whatever. I just enjoy my mediocre life. Mm-hmm. And I'm exhausted from all the outside things that we get just kind of thrown at us. So I was really intrigued when I came across this article. And so she says, what if all I want is a small, slow, simple life? What if I am most happy in the space in between, where calm lives? What if I am mediocre and choose to be at peace with that? The world is such a noisy place. Loud voices lecturing me to hustle, to improve, build, strive, yearn, acquire, compete, and grasp for more. For bigger and better. Sacrifice sleep for productivity. Strive for excellence. Go big or go home. Have a huge impact in the world. Make your life count. But what if I just don't have it in me? What if all the striving for excellence leaves me sad, worn out, depleted, drained of joy? Am I not simply good enough?
Yes. It's exhausting just
reading that. What if I never really amount to anything when I grow up, beyond mom, sister, and wife? But these people in my primary circle of impact know that they are loved, and I would choose them again, given the choice. Can this be enough? What if I never build an orphanage in Africa, but send bags of groceries to people here and there and support a couple of kids through sponsorship, which we do? What if I just offer the small gifts I have to the world and let that be enough? Mm-hmm. What if I don't want to write a cookbook or build a 6-figure business or speak before thousands? Oh my goodness. I feel like, everybody's writing now. And I think that that's fantastic. Mm-hmm. But if you're not an author, if you're not writing a book, then it's like, you feel...
What have you done?
Right. You feel that pressure. But I write because I have something to say, and I invest in a small community of women I care about and encourage them to love and care for themselves well. Because bigger isn't always better, and the individual matters. She is enough. I just love this. So she goes on to say, what if I just accept this mediocre body of mine that is neither big nor small, just in between, and I embrace that I have no desire to work for rock hard abs or 18% body fat, and I make peace with it and decide that when I lie on my deathbed, I will never regret having been just me. Mm-hmm. Take me or leave me.
Bam.
She says, what if I am a mediocre home manager who rarely dusts and mostly maintains order and makes real food, but sometimes buys pizza, which my kids are rewarming right now because that's what we had for dinner last night, and who is horrified at moments by the utter mess in some areas of her home. Yes. Who loves to menu plan and budget, but then breaks her own rules and pushes back against rigidity?
Yes.
Who doesn't care about decorating and fancy things? Whose home is humble but safe? Every time we come home and I think I have this agenda of stuff that I want to do, I said, I think we've made our home too comfortable because as soon as I get home, I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
So what if I'm not cut out for the frantic pace of this society and cannot even begin to keep up? And see so many others with what appears to be boundless energy and stamina, but know that I need tons of solitude and calm, an abundance of rest, and swaths of unscheduled time in order to be healthy. Body, spirit, soul, healthy. Am I enough? What if I'm too religious for some and not spiritual enough for others? Non-evangelistic, not bold enough, yet willing to share in quiet moments in genuine relationship, my deeply rooted faith and my doubts and insecurities. That will have to be enough. And if I've been married for 21 years and love my husband more today than yesterday, but have never had a fairy tale romance and break the experts' marriage rules about doing a ton of activities together and having a bunch in common, and we don't. And we like that time apart and time together. Is our marriage good enough? I'm almost done. What if I am a mom who delights in her kids but needs time for herself and sometimes just wants to be first and doesn't like to play, who hugs and affirms and supports her kids in their passions? A mediocre mom who can never live up to her own expectations of good enough, let alone yours. What if I embrace my limitations and stop railing against them? Make peace with who I am and what I need and honor your right to do the same. Except that all I want is a small, slow, simple life, a mediocre life, a beautiful, quiet, gentle life. I think it is enough.
Wow.
I love this article because I feel like
it gives you permission.
Yes. I feel like
It's like the best yes. Yeah.
Yes. I think if I were to write this article, I would have said these exact words.
Yeah.
I mean, even down to the whole 21 years of marriage, because Brandon and I have been married for 21 years.
Wow. Well, it's just, we do. I do. I feel like I get caught up in all that outside pressure of what's accepted and what's right, and I'm kind of a rule follower, and I get these things in my head, like these ideas of my house has to be like this, my kid, I need to be doing this, and like, okay, when did it become necessary for my house to look like a show home?
I know, when Pinterest came about, I guess. I don't know, but
I'm like, it's exhausting to try and even attempt to achieve that.
It is.
Like, I can't, like, we're doing life here.
Yeah.
I got laundry going, and there's probably clothes laying
I have
on
laundry
some
right there, you see,
piece
as you're
of
walking in the
furniture.
door.
I'm like, I'm training my kids.
Mud
Like,
prints on my carpet here.
yes.
And I think, well, that's just one more step closer to hardwoods, maybe. I don't know.
Exactly.
but yeah, it's
exhausting.
a mess.
But we put this on ourselves.
Right.
It's
like we find our identity in that.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, it's just, it's exhausting. It's exhausting, and it's unattainable.
It is.
Because there's always something else that we, quote unquote, need to do or should be doing, or I don't know. Yeah, it's to me, it's exhausting. And I literally have to shut down those voices.
Right.
Because it wears you down, and then you're never good enough.
Right, because once you hit that where you think, okay, if I just get here, that I'm good enough.
Yeah.
Then there's
something
another
else.
goal to achieve, and it's just there, and you just have to keep climbing and keep climbing.
Yeah. My kids know that they're loved. I'll say all the time, I'm like, hey, guess what? And they're like, I know, you love me. Like, I'm just making sure. I'm like, how did you know? And I'll make them tell me, well, because, and isn't that what our main responsibility is? To love our kids and to teach them,
One of the quotes that Andy Stanley says, and I constantly refer back to this because it's one of my favorite quotes, is, your greatest contribution to the kingdom of God may not be what you do, but who you raise.
I love that. Yep.
And it may not be that we are raising...
Bless you, or whatever that was.
That we are raising kids who are going to maybe go into ministry when they get older. And I don't think that's what he really means by that. Right. I just think that he means that we're raising kids who are going to be acceptable citizens when they become adults, to where they contribute to the world in their own way.
Their well-being, yeah.
Right, and contribute to the kingdom of God in that way.
I know. I remember when I started college, there was never anything specifically that I wanted to study. I just knew I wanted to get a college degree. And I know back then they would say, it really doesn't matter what you get your degree in, just get a degree in anything, and that's what people want to know, is that you picked a line of study, and then you stayed
Stuck
with
with
it. Yeah, and you got, you finished out your degree. But I remember thinking, I just want to be a mom, but that wasn't, I needed that time, I guess, to get me to where I was when I was a mom, or when I became a mom. But I don't know, I feel like motherhood in general is just such a judged trade or position, that we're all just like, wait, what? Like, I'm doing this wrong? Like, I'm doing the best I can. Like, there's not a book on this. And they're all different.
One of the things that really makes me sad is when I see moms on social media constantly asking for, and we should ask for advice, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But constantly asking for advice on things that they are basically doubting themselves on.
Yeah.
They already know the answer to these questions that they're asking, but they're doubting, and they're doubting maybe because the answer that they have for themselves that is right for them and their family is not right for mainstream.
Right.
And so they are seeing it, and so they're starting to doubt themselves because they want to go a different direction or a different route, but they're not being supported by outsiders.
Yeah.
And so they're doubting themselves and are asking for advice instead of just going with what they know to be right for them and themselves.
Going with their gut.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like when the kids are born, that you have a God-given intuition, and it is like there's so many times. Well, like you'll see on social media, you'll see mom groups arguing about a specific controversial topic, and I'm thinking, you know what? What's right for you may not be right for whatever reason.
Right.
Maybe it's a health thing that if you do this with your child, it could be detrimental to your child's health, or maybe you do need to do it because your child needs that whatever. And I just I'm like, can we not just say that this is my child? He comes with his own set of health needs and life needs, and that's why God gave him to me, and I need to follow that intuition that I have. There's a reason why I have that discernment in my spirit as I'm mothering along. Right,
because another mom is not going to have that same discernment, like you were saying, because they're not the mother of your child.
Yeah, children do not come cut, and you'll see that even in your own different children. Like my 3 boys are day and night. I mean, they all have, and you think if they all came from the same basic genes, you would think that they would be more alike. But I remember thinking before I had kids that their environment and their experiences shaped so much of who they were until they came out, and you're just like, you come with your own personality, your own set of things that make you,
right.
And that's just day and night to what your brother has. Or I remember, like, early on, it was hard. You're like, am I doing the right thing? And you would have people saying, well, maybe you should try this, or maybe you should try that. And you're questioning, especially with your first child. I feel like because you're learning for me, it was like I was learning to listen to that intuition and be okay with listening to that intuition, and seeing the fruits of listening to that and being like, oh, wow, I'm glad I did that.
Right.
Like it turned out okay. When other people were saying, well, you need to do this or you need to do that. And I was like, just don't feel like that's what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
But it's okay. It's all okay. And I wish moms felt more supported that way.
Yeah.
Or parents in general, not just moms, but parents felt okay saying, even though this is mainstream, or even though this is what my neighbor's doing, maybe that's not what we're supposed to do, because this kid is not that kid. And they all, there's no cookie cutter kid, there's no cookie cutter mom. And then not only accept that, but not pass judgment, thinking, oh, well, they should be doing this or they should be doing that.
Yeah, because, we can be harsh ourselves.
Absolutely.
Looking at other parents.
Well, on ourselves
comments.
And on other people, absolutely. Yeah, it's hard. I withdrew as a first-time mom. I remember I didn't want to hear it. Like, it was too much. I don't know if I had postpartum depression or what, but it was, as a first-time mom, it was really hard on me.
Yeah.
Like, and I think part of it was that I liked kids. I had always been around kids, and I felt like it was going to come a little more natural than it felt at the time, you know? And I think that's why you hear people that are like, well, I've nannied my whole life, you know, and then they have their own kids, and they're like, oh, wow. And I'm like, it's different when it's your own kids.
Yeah,
you know?
Totally.
But I think with that comes the reliance upon God, you know, and I think that's where God wants us. I mean, I think he wants us to feel confident as moms and in doing our work, but at the same time, too, I think he wants us to remember that we're reliant on him and that this child is his child.
Right.
And that, you know, we've got a very important role in this.
And then just when you think you have it all down, he gives you another kid with a whole new set of needs.
And then you think, oh, well, they're day and night, so maybe the third one's got to be like one or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. They're totally different. Goodness, but it's good. It reminds me that God is ultimately in control.
Yeah, I also think, too, like, I mean, God knows who we are before we even have kids. He knows our personality. He knows our strengths, our weaknesses. And obviously, I know that he wants to, like, build up our weaknesses some. And so maybe he does that with our kids. But I also feel like he makes our kids resilient to that, to where he knows the parent that's going to be. And so I think that there's a sense of protection. And this may not be true. I mean, I don't know that it's even biblical or anything like that. But this is just kind of how I feel about it. You know, I think that that there's gotta be a certain resilience that he instills into our children. To
so
where
they survive our mothering.
Right, so they can survive our inadequacies.
We're learning like they are.
Right.
Like, I've never done it. And I remember thinking, people, you know, they would be like, well, I raised 3 kids. I'm like, yeah, but those were your kids, and your kids grew up in a different time. Things are different, you know, and it's just, you're you. They're your kids, you know? So I think even though you can successfully raise, you know, you don't know every conflict or every thing that's going to arise that people are going to have to go through, and obstacles they're going to have to get through, and I don't know. I think we all just need a little more grace, and I have to extend it to myself because I beat myself up when I do things, and I'm just like, okay, that probably was not my best mothering moment.
Right.
And I'm trying to teach that to my kids, because one of the boys will beat it. He's pretty hard on himself, and I told him, give yourself some grace, like the same grace that you would want somebody else to give you, you know.
I know some of the most stressful situations that I felt myself coming into, like the seasons that I've come into with my kids. Once that season is over, I kind of look back and go, oh, that wasn't so bad after all.
It wasn't as bad as
it
felt
but
at the
maybe
time.
I didn't even enjoy that season so much because I was so overwhelmed and stressed and, you know, paying attention to outside pressures and everything, to where I look back and I go, oh, it wasn't so bad. I really wish that I would have enjoyed that a little more than I did.
Yeah. I think that's why there's so many articles written, you know, they're like, when you look back at your life, are you going to say, you know, I wish I would have worked more hours, I wish I would have spent more money or had, you know, more expensive cars, and, you know, you say, no, you're going to wish you would have spent more time with your family, you know, or whatever. That's what's going to matter.
So one of the things that Carolyn touched on towards the end of the podcast was the pressure that we feel to have the better cars, the bigger houses, maybe kids who are in all the sports or who are achieving high standards in the sports or whatever that they're in. And those are all really great things. But when we put those things above our children and above our family or in front of that, then that's not good at all. So it's actually more important for us to pay attention to our family and where we are now. Enjoy the time that we have with our kids. Enjoy the fact that maybe they aren't so successful in baseball. Hey, guess what? You have your weekends free. Maybe they don't enjoy doing football. That's okay too. Don't feel the pressure to feel like you have to have your kids in every sport, that they have to actually be highly accomplished in every sport or every debate club or every music class, or that they have to play the piano fluently by the time they get out of high school. Now, those are all really, really great things. But when we start comparing ourselves to other families who are doing those things, then we are losing precious time with our children. It invites conflict between us. Even if you don't feel like there's conflict, there's really that conflict there. And you need to understand that when we are just relaxed at who we are, relaxed at who God created us to be, that is okay. That is enough. It is enough to be who God created you to be. Last podcast, I talked about how my son and I really enjoy sitting and binge watching Once Upon a Time and some of these other shows that are on TV, and that is okay. That is our time together, and we enjoy that. That's how we enjoy spending our life together, doing those things that we enjoy doing together. We love to go camping. Not every family loves to do that, and that is okay. So don't feel pressured to feel like you have to keep up with everyone. Every family is different, and we just want to encourage you today to just love the life that you are living with your family today and understand that it is okay. Your kid is going to turn out okay. It's going to be fine. If you like Tea of Life podcast and you have two friends who want to create the life that they love to live, tell them about us. Find us on your favorite social media platform like Facebook or Instagram. Also, right now, before you forget, go to Apple Podcasts or Google Play and search for Tea of Life podcast. Hit the subscribe button and never miss an episode. Thank you for listening to Tea of Life podcast. We'll see you next Wednesday.